Hey there, welcome back to the Steel City Sports Podcast. Today we are going to be doing predictions for the AFC North. This is the start of a new series on the channel where we're going to go through each division and rank them, predict their standings by the end of the year. And I thought, what division would be better to start with than the one that has my team, the Steelers? So please feel free to comment down below. I definitely look forward to engaging with you guys, you viewers out there. Let's get into it. Coming in at fourth place, we have the Baltimore Ravens, and it's pretty clear why they're in last place because they're going to be losing their franchise quarterback, Lamar Jackson. Pretty inevitable here. I mean, last month he just requested a trade. It's pretty clear he doesn't want to be with the Ravens. Even if he's not traded, it's pretty likely he'll sit out the entire season anyway, so I think we have seen Lamar Jackson play his final game as a Baltimore Raven. Going forward, I think Baltimore can rebuild pretty quickly. They've shown that they're a pretty stable franchise. They've won Super Bowls without franchise quarterbacks. You look at the two Super Bowls they have, not franchise guys. Joe Flacco was good, really good in the playoffs, but not a franchise-level cornerstone piece. And Trent Dilfer, kind of the same thing, but worse than Flacco. So given that was a very different NFL. The NFL of today is very much, obviously, quarterback reliant. So going to be interesting to see what Baltimore does in their rebuild phase. But with Lamar Jackson gone, I just don't really see this team winning that many games. It seemed like last year they really held it together with bubblegum and Band-Aids after he got hurt. They put in Brett Huntley, who did pretty good, but can he sustain that over an entire season? I don't think so. And I do give Harbaugh some credit for how he built the offense around Lamar Jackson, but I think even Ravens fans would admit this. If Lamar hadn't worked out, and let's just say like they went on to find another quarterback, Harbaugh probably would have been fired by now. He's one of the longest tenured head coaches in the NFL, and it wasn't looking great at the end of the Flacco era, but he's really lucky they stumbled into Lamar. And like I said, you got to give him some credit for building the offense around Lamar, but I wouldn't be shocked if he's gone in a couple seasons just because, like I said, they're entering their rebuild phase. I can see them winning around 6 to 7 games. They still have good personnel on this team outside of quarterback. The O-line is still stable. I've never been a fan of the weapons, but you're getting Rashad Bateman back. And then the defense, of course, is really good. So they can win some games, but they're not going to be that good of a team without Lamar. So I have them at about 6 or 7 wins, clearly at fourth place in this division. Coming in at third place, we have my team, the Pittsburgh Steelers. I try to be as unbiased as I can with the Steelers. Living in Pittsburgh, I hear a lot of wild takes about the Steelers, whether it's on one side of the spectrum or the other. But I honestly think the Steelers are going to have a very, very similar season to what you saw this past year. They didn't make any major trades so far. Free agency, they did get Patrick Peterson, but they lost Cam Sutton. Maybe that's a slight upgrade for 1 year, but in the long term, I don't like that. Obviously the draft is a big part of this. We haven't had the draft yet, so we might make like an updated version closer to the season whenever the draft's already done. But as of the roster, it's pretty much the same. They re-signed a bunch of guys. They didn't really move many pieces around. And, I do like a lot of pieces to this team. I think there's potential for the Pittsburgh Steelers to be a good team. We won 9 games last year. And, yeah, I think, honestly, just because of the scheduling, I'm going to predict 8 games won for the Steelers this coming up year because you look at the schedule last year, it was pretty easy towards the end, and we were able to get some pretty easy wins over teams like Atlanta, Carolina, New Orleans. We even beat Brady and the Bucs, so playing the NFC South was a big blessing last year to get to 9-8. We're not going to obviously be playing the worst division in the NFL anymore this season, so I just don't think we're going to get that many easy wins. I think 8 is a pretty realistic expectation given that. But knowing Tomlin, we're just probably going to go 9-8 again because, he's never had a losing season. And I could probably make a 20-minute video about the Steelers alone just because they're my team. I can probably ramble on them for 20 to 30 minutes. And I might do that closer to the season after the draft is done. But right now, how it's constructed, I like a lot of stuff about this team. Obviously, Minka has an argument for the best safety in football. TJ Watt I think you can still argue he's the best defensive player in football when he's healthy. And then you have, of course, Najee, who started off the year pretty slow, but he really started to get back on track later on in the year. I really like our young receiving core. Deontay Johnson's really coming into his own as a number one. You have, of course, George Pickens, who I think has superstar potential, and we're always really good at developing receivers, so I think he will reach pretty close to his maximum potential. Freiermuth is great. And then, of course, the most important piece, Kenny. I think Kenny can be a star in this league. I think he's shown clear signs that he is built for this league. And the main thing I point to, it's not that he has the biggest arm. It's not that he is the most athletic guy or the smartest guy. It's his poise. That's what makes Kenny Pickett special. Every quarterback who's really good in this league has their certain thing. With Kenny, it's poise. It's comfort in the pocket. You never really see him panicked or under duress. It's just smooth calmness, cold-blooded, and that's what makes Kenny Pickett so good. On top of that, he does have some of those other traits that are really good as well. When they allow him to throw the ball down the field, he's excelled at that. And also, he has above-average athleticism for the position. And last thing I will say is, I know a lot of people, I've gotten into plenty of arguments online with this. People point to his interceptions, but Peyton Manning had like 1 million interceptions in his first year. Go look it up. I'm not saying Kenny Pickett's going to be Peyton Manning, of course, but I'm just saying great players have had bad interception ratios in their rookie year. It happens, and especially in this situation where you're just kind of throwing them to the fire. You know, some quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers and Mahomes, they get to sit for a year or multiple years. Kenny was playing by week 3. You know, he was just kind of thrown out there, and I think he did a hell of a job. So I know that was probably a longer rant than I'm going to do about the other teams, but again, it's my team. I think you guys kind of expected it, so I have them here at 3. Stay tuned for sure for a long-winded rant about the Steelers eventually. Coming in at number 2, I'm predicting the Cleveland Browns. I think that they can win around 10, 11 games. If you listen to my video I released earlier this week, it was the top 5 most intriguing teams. Cleveland was number 1 on that list because they can either go really bad or really good, and I wouldn't be shocked if out of either of those outcomes. You know, if they were really bad and won like 6 games, I'd be like, yeah, you could see that coming. If they won 12 games, you'd be like, yeah, that's why they traded for Deshaun. So I really think the Browns are they are the most intriguing team. If you watched that video, if you want to hear more about that, you can definitely check that video out. But quickly here, Deshaun, when healthy, the last time we saw him play a full healthy season in 2019, I think he was a top 5 player in the NFL. There's a reason why Cleveland traded all those picks and dumped Baker and gave Deshaun all this guaranteed money. There's a reason why they did that. It's not because they're stupid, although I do think it can backfire really badly, but it's because of they saw that production. So if they're getting that guy, which I think he's definitely going to look a lot better next season than he did this past year, just because obviously rust plays a factor. He only played 6 games. It's a brand new scheme. He didn't play any games in the 2 previous seasons. So I think there's a lot of potential for this team to be really good with him if he's back to his regular self. Even if he's 80% of the version he was in 2019, this team will win 10 games. You know, you have Myles Garrett, who's always in the conversation for TPOY, probably a top 3 defensive player in the NFL. You have the best running back tandem in the NFL with Chubb and Hunt. I still like their receiving core. It's not a fantastic, it's probably not top 10 receiving core, but it's good. You have Amari Cooper. I still think he's a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. The Cowboys missed him last year. Donovan Peoples-Jones gets better every year. David Njoku, really good tight end. And their O-line is still one of the best. You can argue the best in football. So probably not the best. You'd probably say Philly has the best, but Cleveland is definitely a top 5 offensive line. This is a make-or-break year for Cleveland, especially for Stefanski, because he's had back-to-back disappointing seasons after making the playoffs his first year, winning Coach of the Year, winning a playoff game against my Steelers, and now they've missed the playoffs back-to-back years whenever they had a lot of expectations. So definitely going to be watching Cleveland closely this next year. I think they're going to be pretty good if Deshaun is even just some version of his former self. As long as he's, like I said, 80 to 70% of what he once was, this team can win games. So they're here at 2. And in at number 1, we have the Cincinnati Bengals. I think the person who put it best was Joe Burrow himself. When asked how long the Bengals Super Bowl window is open, he said, as long as I'm here. I 100% agree. You look at what Joe Burrow has done for this franchise. Before Joe Burrow was a Cincinnati Bengal, they were just forever mediocre, you know. I think their last playoff win before Burrow was in the 90s, the early 90s. And look at what he's done. I mean, his second year, he gets them to a Super Bowl, and then his third year gets them to the AFC Championship game. Just the way he's transformed the culture of this team. He's clearly the top 3 quarterback in the NFL. I would argue that there's only one quarterback in the NFL better than him, named Patrick Mahomes. I think Joe Burrow has clearly established that he's better than Josh Allen. He's, in 2 less years, had way more playoff success than Josh Allen. You know, obviously, like I said, getting to a Super Bowl. Josh Allen's never done that. He's already gotten to an AFC Championship game, and you can correct me if I'm wrong about this down below, but I'm pretty sure Josh Allen's only been to one AFC Championship game as well. The Bengals, outside of Burrow, they're even a really good roster. Obviously, he gets all the attention because of how great he is, but it's still a great roster even outside of Burrow. They have probably the best, not probably, I'm going to say it definitively, they have the best receiving core in the NFL. Jamar Chase, top 5 receiver. T. Higgins, borderline top 15-ish in the NFL. And then Tyler Boyd's just really reliable, stable, really good number 3. Would probably be a number 2 on a lot of teams. Offensive line is still shaky. They made some pretty big signings last year and somehow got even worse. And Joe Burrow was the most sacked quarterback the year they went to the Super Bowl. So if they ever figure that out, I think that this team will win the Super Bowl because that's been really their only big weakness on this team is their O-line. Mixon is phenomenal. He's established himself as easily a top 10 running back in the NFL. Arguably 5. I'd probably have to write the list out. And then the defense doesn't get enough praise. This defense is really good. Now, they did lose Jesse Bates, probably their best defensive player, the heart and soul, the captain of their defense. I don't know why Bates left. I mean, obviously, he probably got offered more money by Atlanta, but you're going from a team that you know you have a shot at winning the Super Bowl every year. You go from that to Atlanta, who's in a complete rebuild. For me, I mean, I get it. If they were offering a significant amount of money more, then yeah, you go to Atlanta. But if it was like reasonably close, the fact that he left kind of shocked me. But again, like I said, as long as Burrow's there, their window's open. I mean, they have a phenomenal roster. And overall, I just like this team. They're really well managed. Zach Taylor has really won me over. You know, early on, I wasn't sure on if I liked Zach Taylor. I didn't know how good he was. Even when they made the Super Bowl, I wasn't really sure if I liked Zach Taylor. I didn't know if it was just more of Burrow being incredible, but I think he's really shown that he is a really good head coach. And I think he showed that clearly in the Buffalo game this past year where he just clearly outcoached Sean McDermott. Like, he coached circles around him. So, anyways, that's my thoughts on the AFC North. Please comment down below your thoughts on this. Do you agree with me? Do you not? Am I stupid? And also, if you're going to leave a comment, let me know which division you want to do next. I don't really have a set order, so I'll probably just pick a random one tomorrow when I do the next video. So that's been it for the AFC North. Please like and subscribe. Thank you for listening.